This is Pitch Please, the show where people who play games pitch ideas to people who make them. This week...
Did Zeus fuck Hades?
Oh, probably. Who didn't he have sex with?
Zeus would fuck anyone, but he wouldn't fuck me.
Welcome to Pitch Please. My name's Alex. I'm joined by developer Chris from Foggybox.
I'm now deaf.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
An explosive intro.
Developer James from Catastrophic Overload.
Huh? Who said that?
Thomas the Ideas Engine.
Hello!
Oh, jeez.
I love it. New volume.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
All right.
If you've not listened to us before, the way this works, one of us is going to pitch an idea for a game. An idea for a game will be pitched, and then we're going to spend the rest of the show trying to make it work. Someone's going to lay down a broth, and then we're going to put our own little vegetables and bits in, right?
I like to add coriander.
That's incredibly divisive off the bat.
What?
Probably one of the most divisive ingredients.
I like to add rocket.
Oh.
That's better. I would have rocket. Rocket's fine.
I
Rocket's
like to add...
inoffensive.
Turn-based card battling.
I wonder where he was going to go with that.
That's how we do up here in Pitch Please. Welcome,
up in Pitch Please,
motherfuckers, to the ground floor, to the next big idea.
What is the next big idea? Anyone got anything this week?
Oh, no? Well, let me just sift through these gold mines I got up here in this dome real quick. It's empty. It's empty. I got nothing. Oh my God, there's nothing here. End the episode. We can't put this out.
All right, we're gonna have to end it. So, hang on. Fear not, Tom.
Hang on. Can you hear that? My phone's ringing.
Ring, ring.
That's my ringtone right now. I'm going
What is it saying?
Leave it going for a little bit to keep them,
ring.
you know.
Yeah.
I forgot that. Do you remember when I did that recording session for you, Tom, where you told me to say ring, ring, and you made it your thing?
It took 3 hours. I don't know how you kept fucking it up. But
wrong.
I should probably answer this call. Boop.
What up, pitch boys? It's me, your old friend, King of the Mushan. If it's easier, you can call me Mushan, or King, or, I don't know, Dumbass. It's your show. Do what you want. But I'm here to throw an offering into
How did you get this number?
All right, hold on, Mushan.
How did you get this number?
Look, I'm telling him to be quiet for a moment. Mushan, hold on, all right?
Yeah, just hang on a second. I'm going to put you on hold, King.
What are we calling him? Is he Mushan? Is he just nerd?
King?
Is he loser?
He said dumbass.
Jeremy.
Whoops. I went to loser. Sorry.
Yeah, you just went through all the things he didn't list there.
Wow.
All right, well, prick. Honestly, I love his voice. I want to hear more of this.
Let's hear more.
Hang on, let me just get him back again. Boop.
This is probably my least fleshed out idea, so I wanted to give you something to actually work with and help create, as opposed to a semi-finished idea for you to just, look at. I don't even have a name for this one. But enough wasting time, let's get right into it. So this idea is heavily inspired by the Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War games. And I imagine it looking somewhat similar, a kind of 3D sword-fighty action game set in an open-world fantasy land, your usual stuff, with a few villages and dungeons scattered around, maybe like 1 or 2 bigger cities. But in this world, you play a Phantom Knight, a warrior blessed by the god of death with the ability to reform after you're killed. You essentially play the part of the villain, but you begin with only very basic weapon skills.
Fuck yeah.
The goal of the game is ultimately to confront the holy paladin champion of the god of light or something. I don't know. I'm not sold on the final boss.
All right, Mushan, hold on a second.
Sorry,
right. He's
sorry,
not sold
King.
on the
I'm
final boss,
going to have to put you on hold again. Alex has got another problem.
So far, this is what? This is Shadow of Mordor, but you're the bad guy? Is that the setup?
You're the Phantom Knight, the god of death, Alex.
So you're the biggest bad guy.
You're the
real
baddest,
bad guy.
Good, bad.
But you start off pretty shit.
Yeah, you're the rudest dude that's ever duded a rude dude.
All right, so you're starting off as
I
dude,
agree.
and you need to. I guess you're progressing to rude.
You want to get
Because
rude.
you're just
Yeah,
starting
you
off-
want to get rude.
Okay.
You
all right.
Start dude, end rude.
And you can come back when you die as well. That's important. I mean, I feel like that's just every game, but
Explain it away.
Yeah, good point. All right. Okay, I'm sorry. Can you bring him back, Tom, please?
yeah, hang on. King, you still there? King?
Oh no, I don't think it.
King?
King? Oh, you got to press the button, I think.
Oh, sorry.
But I do know I want it to be kind of like Breath of the Wild, where you can waltz right into the final boss chamber and go toe-to-toe with the big bad, or I guess in this case, the big good, right off the bat. It helps to do other big objectives first, but technically there's nothing stopping you from fighting the final boss right out the gate. In this case, those optional big objectives are to go to these temples scattered around the world and fight the ghosts of ancient masters of combat. Each one you defeat, you absorb their knowledge and gain their weapon skills. So maybe you fight the ghost of the sword master and you unlock new combos and new kinds of attacks you can use with your sword. Maybe you fight the bow guy and you unlock a spiritual bow you can summon that's in no way inspired by Shadow of Mordor. But essentially, the more of these ancient masters you defeat, the more you grow your own ability to fight effectively. Alternatively, I considered each master you defeat unlocks the ability just to use a different kind of weapon, like a spear, sword, flail, bow, etc. That has its own skill tree that you can progress down as you use it more.
Okay. All right, Mushan, hold on a sec. Sorry. Just want to make sure we're
Sorry,
on the
this
same
is so
page here.
unprofessional, King. He's not normally like this. No, he is like this. He is like this all the time, actually.
No, I'm a jerk.
He's
listen,
fine, yeah.
listen, you prick.
Yeah, okay.
So where we're at so far is it's like a reverse Shadow of Mordor that has when he's talking about the different bosses effectively that you're going to have to fight to unlock stuff. That makes me think a little bit of I mean, it's an open world, like it's Breath of the Wild, right?
Yeah, you got
that's kind of what he's getting at.
What they call the divine beasts in Breath of the Wild. But instead of a camel, it's a man with a big sword.
Yeah, or a man with a big bow.
Yeah, except obviously you don't fight the camel and get camel powers, whereas in this you will get camel powers.
Well,
no, you do.
You kind
you get
of
angry
do.
because you've got the
How does it work? I can't remember in Breath of the Wild. What do you get for finishing
you
those?
You get the divine champions powers. So the champions that were held in the beasts, you get their powers. So you do get powers and reward. That's a very Zelda-y thing, right?
God, I don't even remember that.
You get something out of the dungeon that you have to use in future ones, like the forest temple. You get the bow, and you need the bow in the next dungeon. You get the hook shot, and then you get the iron boots and things like that. Like it is a very Zelda-y thing to go to a thing to get the reward. Whereas in Breath of the Wild, you can just go to the final boss straight away if you want, without all these powers. You'd be stupid to, or a speedrunner.
Is that possible? Like, could you
Same
just
thing.
finish it? Is that a speedrun thing? Do people do that?
They go straight to it. Like the speed
Just
run for
straight
Breath
up.
of the Wild is like 20 minutes, probably less now.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's nuts. It might be more than that. I don't know.
It's like 5 seconds.
It's like,
Someone's done it in 3
honestly,
seconds.
someone completed it before it even came out, before it was even finished. It was incredible. Well, I mean, but yeah, like getting new weapons and learning new weapon arts by going to. I imagine there's not just 4 or 5 or 6 of these people around the map. There's loads of them, and they all teach different abilities, like the spin move or the riposte or the parry or whatever else is stuff that you have to learn from going to everything. And I guess right at the very start of the game, all you can really do is like a one-hit combo, and you suck. But you have to, maybe you can beat the final boss with a one-hit combo or whatever, but going to the 400 different ghost trainers around the world, then you can fight the god of light or something that he's not sold on.
Yeah, the God of Light, the unsold God of Light.
Yeah, that's his name.
No, that's the unsold. No, that sounds cool. I quite like even like so far, even just the idea of the fact that you're playing as the bad guy feels like there's a decent opportunity around the kind of skills that you would learn, like being particularly evil.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, the very first one you get is suck, obviously.
Yeah.
Whether that's life or blood or
Do you think the powers change? Do you always become evil, or is there like the Fable or Infamous style choices where, like in Infamous, if you are evil, you get fire. If you're good, you get ice. In Infamous 2.
You are the Phantom Knight, the warrior blessed by the god of death.
That is true, but you could still, say your please and thank yous.
There's loads of different types of evil.
You can be
There's
polite.
fire
so it's
evil.
like you trip up kids.
Yeah, you could either have the physical, where you trip people over or slap them, like happy slaps, stuff like that, or you go elemental evil.
While we're on types of evil,
beat up
could you
trees.
explain to me how like a lawful evil works? What is that? What is an example of a lawful evil? I've never understood that
You
graph.
slap someone, but you ask them if you can first.
So it's kind of, yeah, you're doing evil
Bad things for the sake of good.
Yeah.
But within the law? Right.
A Tory is a lawful evil. Is right.
No, I don't know. I think they're quite unlawful.
It's like bad things for good reasons.
So it's like an anti-hero, where it's like
Yeah.
the means that she defines. What is it?
No,
Just
no,
do you remember that famous
that was
saying when do the what with the
Where you wish you
justify
were
the
doing
means?
The ends justify the means.
No, that doesn't sound right.
No, okay.
But that's lawful evil. Lawful evil, yeah, is doing. You're an evil character, but you got good reasons. It makes sense. Neutral is just you're just a prick. Chaotic is you just want to take over the world and destroy it. Like, who does that serve? No one. You just want to destroy everything. Like, fuck you.
Okay.
And
that's what
everything
I was-
around you.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking. Is there certain weapons you can only do if you decide to stay slightly less evil than evil, or is it you can just unlock everything?
Well,
I
so
like-
do
yeah.
you think you go to an ancient ghost warrior and he's like, I could teach you this, but you haven't murdered anyone yet. Like, I don't know.
Well, no, maybe it's. I would say maybe there are some like region bosses that you keep alive, right? And you get their powers if you have, but then they require you to kill another one, so you lose. Maybe you start with everything and you have to lose and gain certain things,
Oh,
right?
yeah. No, learning, like pitting the warriors against each other so you can't possibly get every ability.
Yes.
That could be very cool.
Or could there be perhaps like there could be some warriors like there could be some characters where you have to fight them, but you'll get a different ability depending on if you kill them or if you spare them. So that you can only ever choose one thing, and then that has consequences in its own right.
What if it is like Shadow of War, you either recruit them or you suck them and get their ability, I mean.
Oh,
But then that could also have ramifications for like their followers, right? So if they exist in the world, maybe there are factions and you decided to help them, so they'll attack you if they see you out and about around the world, but if you spare them, that means that they won't, but then someone else will because you've then gone against their, belief.
Okay, followers of the Phantom Bow,
Yes.
followers of the Jagged Sword, followers of the Kid Trippers, and followers of Fire Magic. Oh, Necromancers.
Yeah.
Necromancy's pretty evil. What else is evil?
Flails.
Flail Boys.
The Flail Boys.
yeah.
And
Are flails inherently evil? There's flailing stuff.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
have you seen them? They're gruesome.
I feel like nunchucks would be more evil because you can accidentally knock yourself out with those.
you can knock yourself out with a flail, but you won't have a
You could-
headless.
yeah, I think if you
That's
had a
true, yeah,
flail,
you
you'd
probably
knock
do.
At least
yourself
with a
out with it.
nunchuck, you've got like a shiner, and that's about it.
Yeah. I think you'd
All right.
kill yourself with a flail.
I love the way
Easy.
Alex went for nunchuck.
It's because I have a very distinct memory of trying to use my friend's nunchucks when I was a kid, and it spinning around and hit me on the back of my head.
Okay,
It was
And it knocked your hat into the road.
I know we're bringing back this image of you with the leather jacket, katana, Japanese lessons, and a fedora. But were you wearing all of those when you were using the nunchucks? And did you say you have the power of God and anime on your side?
I was much younger at the time. I was but a child. But that's what got me into it. Yeah, I
But
saw
a
the
child.
nunchucks and I was like,
Butter
"This is for
boy.
me."
Whilst you were talking to women, I was learning the nunchuck.
I was watching Bruce Lee.
Sorry,
all right.
King.
Oh, he's still on
Yeah,
hold.
before we get too
Do you wanna
far
get-
into
do you wanna
it,
get him
I want
back?
to say he has been incredibly professional so far.
He has.
I almost have a feeling that if you were to press the button, he is just going to keep going without a single break.
He's the master of the pitch. He knows it's
Yeah.
straight down to business. We don't have time for pleasantries. Just move on from where we were. Sorry, King, you're back. Boop.
But the big mechanic I had in mind is your resurrection ability and how it affects the world around you. The point of having villages and towns around is that initially they have no idea you're some evil force of death come to do evil things. So you buy things like food or arrows from them. Maybe you buy a horse to get around easier or buy health potions and that sort of stuff. But the more times you die, the more outwardly evil you become. So after 40 or 50 deaths, I don't know, your head is a flaming skull and you have a big-ass scythe and you can summon a skeletal steed. But anytime you're nearby a village or town, people immediately start trying to kill you, and you can't buy their stuff anymore. Maybe you can help me figure out how to make that a bit more compelling and interesting, because on paper, it doesn't seem like there's much of a downside to dying a lot, since you get magical death powers to mitigate stuff you're losing out on by being in populated areas. Plus, there's no real way to reverse your deathiness that I've thought of yet. But like I said, this is the least fleshed out of my ideas, and I know it's still a lot to take in. Hopefully it gives you enough to work with and make a good episode, but if not, don't worry, because there's plenty more where that came from. Once again, I've been Dumbass, I guess. Thank you for your time.
Hey, thanks, King. That's really nice. See you later, King.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you for the call. We'll catch you next time. Love you.
He's not so he's still there. I can't hear him hanging up.
I found it really odd.
Just silently breathing.
He called in live just when we needed the idea. It's like he knew, and he knew when we were recording. The timing
could not have been better.
Hey, he's the king for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I could have just listened to his voice for another 10 minutes.
I'd love that. But he did say that he hopes that it was enough to make a good episode. It was enough. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's pitch pleaser calling.
Yeah, the bar was already set so low.
That's fair.
No, thank you very much, King of Mushan, prick, dumbass, whatever else. Yeah, no, I like the deathiness makes you more evil. I guess the way to make it more interesting is making trading in villages and interacting with civilians and whatever else actually very, very useful in the early game. Like you really need to buy these potions. You really need to get these upgraded weapons or the horse or whatever else you can get from these towns. Otherwise, you will just die out there. So then when they do start to turn on you, you have to be strong enough to sort of continue that curve upwards where it's not so difficult anymore. Otherwise, you're just going to suffer and die.
I sort of think it would be fun, like, instead of, I guess in the early days, like, you've died a couple of times. I can picture this affecting your dialogue choices. I'm assuming there's going to be some dialogue in this game, but it might be that your dialogue choices no longer give you nice options. And it's like, you go to buy arrows and it's like, give me some fucking arrows. And like you start.
No wonder they're not going to serve you.
And then
just the dialogue is not really any different to what it was before. It's just you're adding swear words.
Yeah, but that's early stage, and then it starts being like you just literally can't ask for anything. You have to steal.
You have to take it.
The only options.
Oh right, that's not what I thought you were going.
All you can do is roar at them.
Right, maybe. Yeah.
I think the thing that I thought of was as trying to make a downside of you dying a lot and you becoming more evil. So is what if, and I'm just going to throw some random words out that I've seen in this that he said. So, okay, for instance, you start and you are 50-50 like evil and like you have like radiance abilities, right? And there's two types of abilities. There's the sort of radiance ones, which are more powerful. And then there's the dark ones, which are like weaker, but they cost you less, stamina or a mana over time to use. And as you die, those bars shift. So the ratio becomes more evil than sort of radiant. So you can't use the sort of more powerful good moves as often. You have to sort of figure out how you want to do them whilst you're recharging that bar. So they're always available to you, but you have to be more tactical in how you might use them in a combat situation because you have died so many times that you've sort of become more evil and visibly more evil and unconnected from the balance, I guess.
I guess. And I appreciate, none of you are going to get this reference, the Red Mage from Final Fantasy XIV.
Oh my God. Yeah, Tom, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't get that reference.
No. they have the same sort of, well, they don't have like things that dramatically shift their bars as they go.
Right.
But yeah, you have to use light abilities and dark abilities equally. And then when they're evened out, they are stronger together.
Is that
so you can't
frustrating
use the
for
same one over
player?
and over again.
Like if you were to, as the game progresses, if you were to do something, then basically doesn't deny you of using an ability, but denies you kind of like, or like punishes you, like makes you like have to use it, be able to use it less.
I don't think so. Like the one bad side I see is that if you are shit at the game, it inherently gets harder. If you're good and don't die, you have an easier time. So maybe we flip it.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't work either.
Well, no, I don't think you do it doesn't get harder because you sink deeper into the evil depths and you gain new, more evil abilities.
I suppose,
dying more.
yeah.
So I guess
maybe
there
they
is
don't
a-
hit as hard.
there is a question of like, why not just die? Like he does say that he wants to find a way to not just have death be the path. Like a reason to actually not die a million times. But I don't know.
Well, maybe the reason for not dying, like the radiant side. I don't know why. Did he say radiant at one point? I've now got the word radiant stuck in my head.
I don't think so.
I feel like I
Okay,
haven't
well,
heard him.
I don't
I've
actually think
decided.
Did
the
not.
radiant and dark balancing was mentioned at all. But yeah,
No, I thought of that, but I didn't know if you mentioned the word radiant. It's now stuck in my
I think he sounded radiant. That's
he
the
did.
only
that was it. That was it.
did.
connection I can make.
Is
Radiant
what if
voice.
like the radiant side are more counters? So they're, instead of, you don't have to be so aggressive, they are ways to navigate around combat, or like instead of the dark abilities being always offensive, then maybe the radiant ones are defensive. So you don't lose your ability to attack, you just lose your ability to maybe handle the situation differently the more times you die. That's the only other sort of balancing thing I can think of right now.
But what's the benefit of befriending or working with villagers and humans?
Well, you need stuff that they have, right?
I mean, I find it interesting that we've all kind of gravitated towards kind of like magical abilities, but Dumbass only really mentioned, correct me if I'm wrong, like sword abilities and physical, like, you know, a bow and arrow.
That's true, yeah.
That is true.
Like, do we even want magic? I mean, I feel like we do, based on the fact that you're kind of this like god-like
a
creature.
warrior blessed by the god of death is what he said.
And you can
I feel like
reform
some
after your kill.
supernatural abilities. Yeah.
Well,
Some kind of supernatural abilities going on there.
What if no magic then?
Okay, yeah.
You could just be incredibly hard
Right.
to kill. So, you know, it's like you get attacked and you just, I don't know, like, can that even work? Does that even work? I don't know.
Well, I do really like that, just the general idea of death or like excessive deaths or dying over and over, like factoring into the gameplay in one way or another, because that's very like Dark Souls in a way, or Elden Ring, where like you kind of learn in one way or another, you get something out of dying repeatedly. And it reminded me a little bit of Chris, you might have played this. There was a game called Chronos on the, like, when Oculus first released. It was a VR game, which it didn't need to be. It was just a third person.
I haven't, but I know what game you're talking about.
Yeah, it was a third person adventure, like Darksiders kind of thing. And the VR portion of it was literally you would just be like a fly on the wall looking around these different levels as you would watch your character move around in a Resident Evil style. You would be the camera of a Resident Evil fixed camera style thing. And that was just kind of an action adventure. But you started off as like a young adult or a kid even. And then every time you died, you aged until you just became a super old man. And I died quite a lot finishing that game. But as you aged up, you would start getting more access to more skills.
I like Sifu.
Yeah, is that how Sifu works?
Well, Sifu, when you die, you age. But when you age too much and eventually actually die, you have to start again. So
Really? Is it that brutal? That's it, you're just done?
yeah.
That feels like maybe a bit much. For me, like for an open world game like this, like imagine if you die 60 times and then like, that's it.
I guess he did touch on something when it was like the villagers would attack you because you're visibly evil. So there is a downside to dying, is that maybe you're, traveling in the overworld just becomes that much harder, and you have to avoid villagers altogether, and then you have to maybe go hunting for food instead of being able to buy food. So there's it would have a shift of I could just go everywhere versus
what if
I'm battling everyone.
That could also cut off certain sections that limit you. So you can only say if you want to get the sword from the sword god, but you have to do it in under 15 deaths. So if you on your way there, if you die more than 15 times, that locks that area off, and you can no longer get that ability. Right?
What if the land is covered in a veil of death?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And every time you die, brings a little bit of radiance back into that area. And when you go back there again, it's slightly tougher, and it's slightly tougher, and it's slightly tougher each time. Maybe if you die in a particular area 20 times, it becomes completely impenetrable for you. And you just can't get in there. But the more you die, the more abilities you get. So you are almost shifting the level of each area in how you play. If you fail, you make an area harder. I guess it could snowball dramatically, but that's when, gaining powers via death could be useful.
That
but
is
it's an opposite. Sorry, Alex.
No, I don't know. That's something about that gets me super excited. Just even visually, when you're talking about the whole game, the whole world begins. I'm imagining a Breath of the Wild style, open world map that is just bathed in darkness and death to begin with. It's almost like Shadow of Mordor kind of thing. But then the more you die, like you say, it's the good guys overcoming the bad guys, and so that area starts to literally visually change and maybe has some other kind of mechanic, some differences in those particular areas as the game progresses.
Have you ever played the game The Saboteur? Because that's what happens in that. It's where it's black and white.
Oh, the
with
World
the Nazis,
War II
and so it's black and white and red.
Yeah,
and then when you take it over, the color comes back to that area. So that's what it reminded me of.
I do remember that.
And I forgot the name of the game, so people might have heard me typing where I typed, because I knew the main character was Irish, and I knew it had Nazis in it. So Irish Nazi game I typed, and it came up straight away, which is a very good game.
Or it could go the other way, like you were talking about the balance, where not the other way, but instead of it starting in darkness and the more you die, the brighter it gets for them and it's worse for you. It could start in the middle ground, and if you demolish an area, then it gets darker and you're stronger in that area. If you die there, it gets brighter and you're weaker there. Maybe there's something there. In terms of, I do kind of like what we were saying earlier as well about recruiting weapon factions, I suppose, or completely devouring them and gaining their abilities for yourself. But then it's always going to be more fun to use the abilities yourself than to see an AI running around doing it for you. So that needs to be much more worthwhile, I suppose. But again, you could also just have 15 different weapon arts around the world that you learn by going there and killing them.
I still think they should be locked off if you die a certain amount, but they should all. So at the start, all of them are one level. Let's say 10 deaths, right? You can access any one you want first, so you can choose which one you want to go to first, and after that, they all increase. So every time you play through it, maybe you could go a different weapon route each time. But as long as you're under, and then if you go over that, then that one locks off. Or one of them locks off at random, or however you want to. Maybe you decide.
So it's almost like you're choosing a run in that, through that.
It's more like it's like a world-based skill tree kind of thing, if anything. I guess where you're locking off certain ones by going to certain ones and removing the constraint of one path by locking off two others. But it involves you defeating a boss. It's boss-based skill trees, Alex. That's going to be in the trailer.
So how are you? Because I like the idea of if you die in one area, or that you could, like you said, you can only die in so many, in an area so many times, or against something so many times before it gets locked off. And maybe that's because, I don't know, in terms of the setup, the story setup of it, once you've died so many times, this area becomes cleansed or something, and then that's it. You can't do anything about it. But are you making, like, by choosing some areas to fight in some areas, are you like locking off other areas as a result of that? Or is the whole thing just kind of open and you go to it however you want?
I mean, making an open world game that any average player will only see half of it, that's always going to be fun.
Well, I feel like you never want to restrict a player from going to a place as a result. You never want to lose. You don't want to like lose portions of the access to portions of the game that you're like, oh, I wish I had gone to here. You know, it's quite frustrating. If it's as a result of you trying that area and failing, and you're like, well, okay, maybe I'll come back here later when I've got some more skills. That's different. But you shouldn't. I don't feel like you should ever lose access to a place.
What if instead of locking it off, it, as Alex said, it like becomes cleansed, and therefore every time you enter that area, I know your attacks do less damage, or you have health restriction, like you caps your health. It makes it a little bit harder. So you can always do it, but you have to try it harder to get the result there, because you've made a decision to get something else, and that's the sort of, hey, if I want to get that,
into like the hard mode version of that area.
Yeah, it's like I can still obtain that, but I've made a decision to make that harder for myself by going for that one first. But there might be a benefit for me doing this one second. Maybe you get something extra if you do either of them in a cleansed area. I
think it would be cool if there is just a constant ebb and flow of the light and dark moving across the map, where you spread your dark one way, the light spreads another way and encapsulates another area, and you're just constantly trying to push it back until eventually you go to the final boss and say, hey, fuck you, God of Light. Dark time.
You're fucking dead.
Nighttime, baby.
Dark time. Could it be like you, like once you die in one, or, you know, once one area becomes cleansed, then like it naturally begins to spread, because, you know, like the humans or the people who populate that area, you know, like they gain belief and willpower, and they start to, you know, cleanse the surrounding area.
Sweet
and you
summer
have to
child. It's an open world game. There's viewpoints that you have to climb up, and once you capture them, they are just a constant flow of darkness that forever
the camera spins
round. Yeah, the camera spins around. There's an eagle.
Yeah,
for some haystack for some reason.
But then you see like the clouds.
It's an evil haystack
over the area.
Yeah.
It's twigs.
Yeah.
It's a haystack of glass.
I don't know. One thing I wanted to just touch on before we forget about it was the thing that James mentioned earlier, which I thought was really cool, was like, I think like King mentioned as well, but like being shunned by the townspeople or whatever. But the effect of that having, like, you mentioned something then, James, about like how it would really impact your gameplay in terms of like maybe you can't go to town anymore, and then you have to actually start relying on things like not quite survival. Like it doesn't suddenly turn into a survival game, but if you need to go and get like certain potions or whatever, like health or whatever, there's food or something that you would need to buy in town. Instead of going into a town to buy it, you then have to hunt for it in the wilderness or something instead.
Yeah, I think that could
find
work.
it in a different source.
Like to make that work with your idea of the cleansing, I guess it's like you would have to make a choice of, do I battle the people of this cleansed town to get the stuff that I need? But it's right here. I'm right close to it. Or do I I can go and forage. I could like do a bit of like, you know, hunting or whatever. Or do I travel to a location that I have already made, like the darkness, to try and get stuff there? But maybe the downside is that you can't get as good as stuff. Like maybe the food and all the ingredients have wilted in the darkness. So it's like there is obviously a benefit to going to these radiant places because you can get fresh food or something.
The good kush.
Get the good stuff. But I guess that's kind of weird though when you think of the concept of like you're this death like god.
You should
and
want
like,
all the wilted stuff.
Oh, I need
you should
really
only be able to eat
fresh
death.
Fresh bread.
Maybe it's fresh apples.
Yeah. But without them I die. Like I'm trying to reconcile like how this and if you just die of starvation, well then do you just get more power? So you get more abilities.
Yeah.
I feel like, there's a load of people that will start the game and then just go AFK for 30 hours while their character dies of hunger repeatedly.
Well, you could do it where stuff from the cleansed place maybe heals you more, but then reduces something else, and the opposite effect happens in the sort of stuff you get from the non-cleansed areas. Like there needs to be a trade-off. That
I mean, I guess to come back to the original idea that we proposed of the radiant bar and the death bar, if you want to keep your radiance, maybe you need to go to a good, a cleansed place to top that bar up with whatever cleansed radiant mana is versus dark mana. Like maybe it is that constant battle of trying to keep it balanced, but that does kind of go against Damas's original pitch that you're just death.
What? Unless you're like, what if you're like Phantom Knight, but you're like the god, you're like the son or the child of the god of death, but also the child of like the god of life.
The god of death and the god of life were banging?
Yeah, they banged, and
they
made you were the child.
The son of existence.
So
you're just the god of, you are the god of chaos.
So yeah, this is Darksiders. This is
it's like Hades.
You just made
Darksiders.
Yeah.
And just all of Greek mythology because Zeus is a randy motherfucker.
Did Zeus fuck Hades?
Oh, probably.
Oh, they all
who didn't
at some point, didn't they?
Poor me.
Oh, I don't know, Tom.
Zeus would
every
fuck
time
anyone.
Do you know when you rub your hand on something and you get a static shock? It's because you're the son of Zeus.
Oh, I can feel him inside me.
Wow. Yeah. Does that like maybe that would kind of like, I mean, you could just have some kind of story reason for it. Basically, is what I mean. So that there is some reason why you need this other stuff, like why you need some light abilities, or you need to go into town. So you need to survive. Like why you have to eat fresh apples, or whatever the equivalent would be.
God, you hunger for fresh apples, but you also hunger for blood.
Yeah.
And you got to have both. You got to have a varied diet as the god of chaos.
Exactly.
Otherwise, or maybe just don't eat at all. Maybe I don't. Why is there a hunger aspect now? Why is there a survival
I think that was
aspect?
for more healing items, or you go to buy arrows. Maybe they're just regular arrows, but these are death arrows.
Yeah, like maybe it is like ammo or something, but I just thought like it could be kind of cool. Like when James was talking about like being banished from a certain town, because you're too evil or whatever, like having to, like, what are the consequences of that? Is it just they fight you whenever you go, you can only fight them? Like, but there must be something else to it. You can't use their shops or whatever. But what does it actually mean?
They boo you
in terms
as you
of
come to town and you feel really bad about yourself.
They ding a bell and just say shame repeatedly.
Yeah.
The land gets filled with paladins of the Holy Order who want to banish you from the land. And if it gets too dark, it gets filled with monsters of the Deathly Order, and they want you killed. So I guess you want to balance it, I suppose. I don't know. Paladins. Fuck them. Monsters.
That could be kind of... Yeah, maybe you're just trying to maintain the balance. Like you could have these... You've got different armies of the bad, like the dark armies and the paladin light armies.
You're not fighting the god of light anymore. That's not the final boss. There's two.
Yeah.
The god of light and the god of darkness.
You're fighting mum and dad.
You're fighting mum and dad. The mum and pop army.
I hate it when you guys fight.
Before their big war began, they got together and made you. And now you have to take down the god of light and the god of darkness. And when you take down one god of light, the darkness spreads. When you take down darkness, the light spreads. Hang on a minute. Wait. This is Final Fantasy 14.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, maybe if you plotted this on like a map, you've literally got good god at one end, bad god at another, and you've got a bunch of villages in the middle, and their influence spreads throughout them. And then your job is to keep them balanced. But if you die in like a radiant place, your radiance increases. If you die in a death place, your death increases, which makes undoing the other one that much harder.
There's 3 endings. Two of them, but one of them is kill both of them, and the other 2 is siding with them. And then you can decide: do you want a dark land? Team up with the god of death, or vice versa, or neither.
It's like the 3-button choice at the end of Deus Ex Human Revolution, where you put like 40 hours into the game and then
Mass
it ends
3?
by just...
Yeah, right.
Is it the same in Mass Effect 3 as well? I can't even remember.
It does.
Yeah. You know that weird spectral kid that comes speak to you at the end?
I think I'd tune that one out.
Yeah, it's great ending.
Team Revolution was the one that
Spoilers, says a
annoyed me the
spectral
most.
kid. Sorry for spoiling Mass Effect 3.
Tom is Googling what year that came out.
Sorry for spoiling a 10-year-old game.
10 years. Christ. Look, I really like the idea of the balance stuff. Like, I feel that there should be something more to do with like the light and the dark, and not just.
I think an open world game that there is essentially 3 maps that you have to create, but they're all on the same template, obviously. Where there's the neutral, and it's just a thriving, lovely little place, and where it's dark, it's burning and nooses and corpses and undead and dead trees and shit like that. And when it's light, it's so bright. It's just too bright.
Everyone has a glow.
It's just too warm.
What is like the downs? Why would you want to not just side with the light? Because what's like a bad light? It's too hot. It's desert.
It's burning. Yeah.
Maybe you can't, like, your character can't survive. If it's 100% radiant, you die because you're made of both parts, right? So you've got to try and keep the balance.
Right. Yeah. The balance is within you. So you need to hold it.
There's the tagline.
Make sure that
the balance is within you.
Yeah.
But the actual game title, I don't know.
Balance Boy, the god of chaos.
Balance Boy.
Balance Boy.
Son of death.
Balance Boy.
Oh no.
That sounds like the name for fuck. Like, you know what, like one of those, like a new version of like a skateboard or something. You know, like the snake
balance boy.
No, it would be the
balance boy.
What was it? The thing that looked like Saturn. It was like a bouncy ball with a ring around it.
Yeah.
Oh,
what was that called?
Fuck, I can't remember. A rock hop. They're called rock and hoppers.
Rock and
I
hoppers.
found out just a couple of weeks ago. We had to buy one for something.
Oh,
I didn't know they were called
we
that.
just had
I
to
thought
buy
they were just
one.
called like
We had to buy one.
Yeah.
we simply had to.
Look, Mushan, thank you very much
Asshole,
for blessing
dumbass,
us,
prick, king.
prick loser, with your incredible voice.
Yeah, I really like this pitch, and I'm really happy that you sent in an audio recording as well. I genuinely really loved that. Thank you, King of Mushan. And I look forward to hearing. That was his second idea, by the way. We've had an idea from him before.
I can't remember what the first one was.
Was it the taxi one? I think it might have been basically.
I think
like
the taxi was Hugo.
Oh,
I feel like the taxi was Hugo.
Up.
It might have been.
It.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back and check.
I've got you all saved under the same name on my phone.
It's tough. Well, we've hit 2 fans now. It's very difficult to keep track of everyone.
It's so sorry. So sorry. But yeah, if you want to send in your voice recordings or Google Doc ideas or scrawled in piss in the snow ideas, then you can send them to @pitchpleasepod on Twitter, which is pitchpleasepod without any vowels, or to our email pitchpleasepod with the vowels at
pickaxe.com.
Pickaxe.com. Pitchpleasepod with all the vowels at pickaxe.com. And yeah, our wonderful producer will trudge through that mess to send us the good shit.
It's actually at yogscast.com.
Pitchpleasepod with all of the vowels at yogscast.com.
Jeez.
You can just edit that in.
Thanks. Yeah, perfect.
He won't.
I will 100% do that.
Yeah, I know you will. I trust you.
So, yeah, thanks.
I just did like a very professional outro.
Yeah.
Admittedly with the wrong email address, but come on, carry on the flow.
You're right. I'm sorry.
I think it's up to someone else to do a professional outro. James?
Oh, God.
James, yeah, please, can you take it out for us? I've fucked it.
Outro? Shit, I was having a cough then. Sorry. Yeah, it's all good. Thanks, guys. Tune in next week or the week after.
Doesn't even know.
When we'll have another great idea from either me, Alex, Chris, Tom, or one of you lovely listeners out there. I hope it's a listener. Or a guest. Remember those? Oh, shit. All right. Okay. How was that, Alex? Cut that in.
Cheers. Yeah, that was great. Let's end on that. Thanks.
Jesus.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Goodbye. Bye now. Bye.
I'm not sure if that's the email address.
Wait, you're not sure that's the email either?
No, it's fine. I'll just put it on the show notes. If it's
We can put it on the show
For the one person that accidentally reads that.